The deadly game, unmasking the chessboard killer. What if every tick of a chess clock marked not just a move, but the countdown to someone's brutal end? Envision yourself wandering the mist-shrouded paths of a Moscow park at dusk, the crunch of leaves underfoot masking the approach of a predator with a vodka bottle in one hand and a blood-stained hammer concealed in the other. This isn't a spine-chilling thriller script, it's the horrifying reality spun by Alexander Pichushkin, the chessboard killer, whose demented quest to slaughter 64 souls, one for each square on his beloved board, transformed a peaceful woodland into a graveyard of shattered skulls and unspoken screams. How does a boy with a knack for strategic brilliance descend into a vortex of sadistic murder, leaving a trail of terror that still haunts Russia today? The Origins of Darkness, From Swing Set to Slaughter. Born on April 9, 1974, in the drab Soviet-era outskirts of Moscow, Alexander Yuryevich Pichushkin shared a cramped apartment overlooking the vast, whispering expanse of Bitsa Park, a lush, 2,700-acre forest that would soon echo with the thud of his victims' bodies. As a toddler, he was lively and curious, but fate struck hard when, at just 4 years old, he plummeted backward from a playground swing, his tiny skull cracking against the unforgiving ground. Doctors later speculated this inflicted irreversible damage to his frontal cortex, the brain's gatekeeper against raw impulses and explosive rage. Overnight, the cheerful child morphed into a reclusive outcast, his school days a gauntlet of taunts and beatings that fueled a seething inner fury. Desperate for refuge, his mother transferred him to a school for disabled children, but the bullying only intensified, carving deeper scars into his psyche. Salvation came in the form of chess, courtesy of his doting grandfather, who spotted the boy's razor-sharp mind amid the chaos. In Bitsa Park's sun-dappled clearings, young Pichushkin outmaneuvered grizzled old men at the board, his eyes gleaming with triumphant calculation. Yet when his grandfather died, a blow that ripped open his fragile world, Pichushkin spiraled. He drowned his grief in cheap vodka and twisted experiments, hoisting terrified neighborhood kids over balcony railings by their ankles, their piercing cries captured on video for his private, perverse replays. These acts were mere rehearsals for the symphony of slaughter to come. By 18, in the sweltering summer of 1992, Pichushkin's darkness erupted. He strangled his schoolmate Mikhail Odachuk amid the park's tangled underbrush, after the teen reneged on a macabre suicide pact, or perhaps a plot to unleash a joint killing spree mirroring the chessboard's 64 squares. With cold efficiency, he heaved the limp body into a fetid sewer pit, the splash echoing like a final, futile gasp. Grilled by suspicious cops, Pichushkin slipped through their grasp, evidence vanishing like mist. For nearly a decade, he simmered in silence, possibly cowed by Russia's looming death penalty. But in 2001, with executions halted nationwide, his monstrous appetite roared back to life, hungrier than ever. Shadows in the Park, the ritual of ruined Bitsa Park, with its towering birches swaying like silent sentinels and serpentine trails vanishing into gloom, became Pichushkin's blood-soaked coliseum. He preyed on society's forgotten, ragged homeless elders, desperate drifters, and later, unsuspecting women, children, and even neighbors from his own crumbling block. His lure was insidious. A nod, a shared cigarette, or the promise of a warming vodka swig to toast a lost dog or drown sorrows. Deep in the foliage, where birdsong gave way to isolation, he'd strike from behind, his hammer arcing down in savage arcs, pulverizing bone with wet, crunching impacts that sprayed crimson across the leaves. The killer's hallmark was a grotesque flourish, jamming a jagged vodka bottle shard into the mangled cranium, where it jutted like a demonic crown, blood bubbling around the glass. During his sewers era from 2001 to 2005, he'd haul the cooling corpses to yawning manholes, shoving them into the stinking subterranean flow. Some victims still twitching as they plummeted into drowning darkness, their bodies later surfacing at distant treatment plants, bloated and unrecognizable. A rare survivor clawed back from the abyss, gasping tales of the abyss's cold embrace. By 2005, emboldened, he entered an open phase, abandoning concealment to flaunt his handiwork. Bodies splayed in clearings, daring the world to catch him. Feel the chill. Twilight fog cloaking the park, a victim's laughter curdling into guttural pleas as Pichushkin leaned in, his breath hot and reeking of spirits, affirming with a venomous yes to her whispered terror, "Are you going to kill me?" He confessed that each kill exalted him to godhood, a euphoric rush of dominion, prying open portals to forbidden realms where life ebbed away under his command. For Pichushkin, murder was intoxicating ecstasy, a primal thrill rivaling the flush of first passion, his pulse racing with each fatal blow. If these pulse-pounding plunges into the abyss of human depravity have your heart racing for deeper dives, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We unearth fresh nightmares weekly to fuel your fascination. The obsession unveiled, checkmate in Blood Pichushkin's lair hid his fetish. A worn chessboard, each of its 64 squares adorned with a coin or scrawled date commemorating a stolen life. His unholy vow? To claim a victim per square, reducing humanity to disposable tokens in his solitary game of annihilation. He bragged of at least 60 conquests, though juries pinned him for 48 murders and 3 botched attempts, his tally blurred in the haze of his frenzy. From 2001 onward, the carnage accelerated, 36 in the sewer years alone. Armed with charm gleaned from books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, he'd ensnare souls only to extinguish them. Moscow quaked as Bitsa morphed into a forbidden zone, parents barricading doors against the whispers of a phantom slayer. Families like that of ex-cop Nikolai Zakharchenko, found bludgeoned and bottled, clamored for justice amid the mounting dread. Corrupt and complacent police shrugged off the vanishings as vagrant mishaps, but as mutilated remains surfaced. Skulls split like overripe fruit. The dragnet tightened, with floodlights piercing the night and choppers thundering overhead. The noose tightens, from predator to prey. Hubris sealed Pichushkin's fate in steamy June 2006. He ensnared colleague Marina Moskalyova, 36, coaxing her into the park's clutches, oblivious to the damning note she'd left her son, his name and number, a breadcrumb to doom. Her corpse, bearing the signature savagery, surfaced soon after. Grainy subway cams captured their final stroll, sparking a thunderous SWAT assault on his squalid flat. Amid the chaos, authorities unearthed his confessional diary and the damning chessboard, 61 squares defiled, a mere trio from completion. Under glaring lights, Pichushkin unraveled his tapestry of terror, guiding sleuths to secret dump sites and pantomiming murders with ghostly poise. Life without killing is like a body without sustenance, he intoned, his voice laced with rapture over the godlike surge of snuffing out existence. In his 2007 trial, caged in bulletproof glass like a zoo exhibit, he oscillated from yawns to leering smirks, pleading for recognition of extra kills. On October 24, 2007, the gavel fell. Life in prison, the initial 15 years in soul-crushing isolation, a cruel fate he vainly contested. Now he festers in the icy desolation of the polar owl colony, his legend spawning chilling tomes, films, and whispers that probe the void of his soul. Yet, as twilight descends on Bitsa Park once more, an unsettling echo persists. What unseen beasts lurk in the everyday crowd, their next lethal gambit brewing? If this visceral voyage into Pichushkin's abyss has ignited an unquenchable thirst for more unearthed enigmas of evil,